am going to show you how to sew a fabric Bible or book cover 2 different ways. First, an embroidered cover, and then next, a quilted cover. First, gather your materials. You'll need 1/4 yard fabric, an embroidery hoop, needle and thread, fabric scissors, a tape measure or seam gauge, pins, and 1/4 yard lightweight batting. This is optional, but I like the look it gives to the cover. And not pictured, you'll also want a sewing machine, zigzag shears, and an iron. The Bible I'm using for reference is the ESV Journaling Bible. You may need to change your measurements according to the measurements of your own Bible. Start by measuring the width, height, and depth of your Bible or book you're covering. Write these measurements down and add 7 inches to the overall length of the Bible and 1 inch to the height. You can see the diagram here for how I came to these measurements and how you can calculate your own. Lay out your fabric and iron if needed. Cut 2 large rectangles for your outer fabrics using your length times the height measurements. Now take your batting and cut a rectangle that is 6 inches more shallow than the outer fabrics. This is so the side flaps won't be too bulky. Lay out your rectangles, right sides facing with the batting on top. Line it up where the batting has 3 inches on both sides. Pin the batting to both rectangles. Starting on one of the shorter sides, sew around the rectangle with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Leave 3 inches opening as you sew around the perimeter to turn the cover right side out later on. Use your zigzag shears if you have them to trim off the edges. This will help them not fray. Through the opening you left unsewed, turn the cover right side out. Use a sharp object if needed to point out the corners. Now take the fabric where the opening is and fold the extra fabric inward. Pin together and hand stitch this closed. I like to hand stitch because it helps the seam disappear as opposed to top stitching. Iron the cover to make it clean and make the edges more prominent. Fold the sides of the cover toward the inside 3 inches to create little flaps for the Bible to slide into. Pin these flaps in place and sew this by hand stitching again. The reason I didn't sew this with a machine is I wanted a more seamless look without having a top stitch. This is my preference, so do what works for you. For the embroidered design, this is where you can get creative and hand draw something like this vine and fruit or a name and embroider on top. If you need some stitches to look up on tutorials, I recommend looking up how to do a back stitch. I found a fruit and vine drawing online that I recreated. This was really relaxing to do as I just watched a show at night, and it's just the perfect wind down project. Now let me show you how I created the quilted top. First, cut 40 to 45 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares in multiple fabrics. This is a great way to use up scrap fabrics. Iron them and lay them out in the pattern that you like. I just did an alternating white and color pattern. Go by the column and sew the squares together right sides facing at 1/4 inch. Continue sewing all the columns. Using an iron, press the seams down, alternating the direction you are ironing so that when you go to sew the rows together, the corners will match up more evenly. Sew all the rows together and you'll end up with a large rectangle for the outside of your book or Bible cover. Follow the directions I showed earlier by adding batting, and you can do a top stitch across the squares to finish out the quilting. Now finish your cover according to the previous instructions for the Bible cover and slide on a Bible or a book. I imagine this is such a great gift idea, especially with holidays coming up. It can be customized with different embroidered names, designs, even using special fabrics and scrap fabric that you've had just stored away. I'm excited to see what you create. This was a really fun project to work on, and I will see you in the next video.